Hey, friends and fans of Hollywood Progressive, we're back again. So this past week, we saw a play called The Outsider at the International City Theater in Long Beach. The basic idea is a governor is driven from office by a sex scandal. Who would believe it? And his lieutenant governor is naturally put in place, but his lieutenant governor is a back office guy, a numbers guy, a policy guy, terribly shy, a horrible candidate, can't speak on television, is frozen in place and wants to get out as quickly as he can. But his well-meaning chief of staff is determined to help him survive. And in comes an outsider, an outside campaign expert extraordinaire who says, well, if maybe the public would go get behind the worst possible candidate ever, and a delightful comedy unfolds from there. What say you, Nia?
Let's say me indeed. This play was a real treat, I thought. Definitely on the comedic side, laughs throughout, beginning, middle, and end. Um, to start, I'd like to talk about real quick about the technicalities of the show. The stage was beautiful. We walked in right away. We knew exactly where we were, what was going to happen, the theme. It felt like a governor's office. It was great. The cast, wonderful choices with these actors. A lot of good chemistry between them, which always translates to really good performance and line deliveries. Lots of good comedic actors, which is a skill in and of itself to know comedic timing and when to pause for laughs, all these kind of things. So just it ticks all across there. Um, this play was great, as my dad said. The description was a governor, a person made governor who doesn't necessarily want to be governor, not because they can't do the job, but because they're terribly shy and don't want to be, in the limelight, in front of a camera, all that fun stuff. And it's sort of a commentary on what people would be willing to accept as someone in office. And you definitely get hints at I'll say at the absurdity of what's going on with Trump and all of that, and how easily people, or how not so much the people, how easily the people in charge of politics and who runs and things like that can make these interesting choices on our behalf and give us these candidates that we don't necessarily believe are the best. I digress. I think one of my favorite parts in this play as a young someone from a younger generation was the extremely eloquent, powerful, and meaningful definition of what government actually is. So my parents are, you wouldn't believe it, but they're older than I am, just by a year or two. So they have a different relationship, and I'm sure they'll talk about it with government and the importance of it. And obviously, we have the LA progressive, Hollywood progressive. So they just have a different relationship with politics than what I had growing up and experiencing the 2008 recession, and just everything that's happened in my lifetime. There's a different, there's a distrust of government within my generation and people my age and younger. And at the end of this, towards the end of this play, Ned, the character who becomes governor, has this sort of eureka moment of, well, let me just describe what government actually is and what it should do for the common person, not what it should be doing for the politicians in charge. And he provides a very eloquent definition of government, explaining how it's essentially how we as a group can get things done collectively that one person couldn't get done on their own. I butchered it a little bit, but it was just a really powerful moment for me and really made me um, have a better and deeper understanding of what government should actually be, which is much needed in our generation during these times of such political strife and division between the world, our country, our neighbors, even. So I really, really enjoyed this play. A lot of laughs, but there was also really good messages being dropped throughout it. And that's something we've talked about before too with other plays, is how these playwrights are able to give us really important topics, really heavy topics, things that are really important to life, but sugarcoat them in a way that's enjoyable, palatable, and it's a wonderful skill that was displayed beautifully in this play. Dad, Sharon, what did you guys think?
Well, I thought it was a lighthearted look at politics, at government. It shed light on the role that handlers, pundits, staffers, the role that they play, which is quite significant. It also talked to the difference between a person who is campaigning and that same person governing. They're two very different roles, and we expect our people who are running to be in office, we expect them to be a fantastic campaigner and also a person who is great at governing. And oftentimes those two just don't mix well. In the case of this particular play, this guy was really a policy wonk. It's exactly what you would want for someone who's going to be in government. You want them to understand the impact of policies, and you want them to understand all of the nuances associated with the policies that are enacted. And this was just the right person for that, but that person was not a person who liked to campaign. It also talked to how people end up in positions just sort of by happenstance. I believe it was Colin Powell who once said something about 50%, it could have been Bill Clinton, 50% of success is just showing up. And so, there's a person who shows up and suddenly this person is in all kinds of positions that was never the intent. But, and it's really funny the way it's done, but truth be told, I've seen that happen. I literally have seen that kind of thing happen in my own life in some very important positions. So it was hilarious. I mean, laugh out loud funny throughout the play, and I really enjoyed it. So highly recommend it.
So, Sugar, I think that esteemed politician who said 50% of showing up, 50% of success is showing up was Groucho Marx.
Oh, was it?
The well-known politician. So here's my take. So I wasn't paying too much attention to the calendar and scheduled this for this past Thursday night. So Sharon and I listened to that wonderful debate in the car driving down there. And honest to God, it was so horrible. We had to switch over to KKJZ and listen to jazz, and then we switched back again. I arrived totally dispirited. I'm not saying I was surprised by how poorly Joe Biden did or how lying son of a bitch Trump was. I wasn't really surprised, but it was like the air went out of me. And then this play, which is kind of about politics, lifted my spirits immensely. I would say Sharon and I and Nia swim a little bit in political waters. And what we've seen is there's several kinds of people. There's a lot of people in politics as handlers, as office holders, who are there for the glory, the paycheck, it's a thing to do with their lives. And then here and there, you see a person kind of like Ned, who really got into politics because he wants to help people, and then he went about learning how to do it, about policies and writing proposals and so forth. I was, as Sharon was talking, for some reason, the name Javier Becerra came to mind, who was our longtime congressman and that is now the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And we heard him speak several times when he was here, our local congressman, and he knew the facts. I mean, he was into the details, and you can see he took a job that isn't really the most glorious in the cabinet, and he's doing a wonderful job with it. So there are kinds of things like that. He was a California
State Attorney General as well.
Right.
But yeah, he's one of the few that you could see was in it because he wanted to make a difference.
Right.
And it can be very seductive because you do get so much media attention. So we know many people who have gotten into it and stayed in it, not because they thought they could really make a change, but because they're pursuing their career. They're in it for their own personal interests. And that's what makes it suck so much. But we really need to put some emphasis on what Nia was talking about, the role of government. The role of government is for the collective, for all of us to accomplish something that we couldn't do on our own. And that's why we do what we do. And that's why we promote and endorse plays like this, because it makes it more palatable to understand that that is really what the role of government is. And everybody's got to get involved.
You got more, Nia?
No, I think we summed it up. I highly recommend anyone to see this play.
Well,
It's a joy.
one thing I want to emphasize something that Nia said. It's wonderfully well acted. The comedic timing is spot on. It's really beautifully done. It was written by Paul Slade Smith and directed by Brian Schnipper. The other thing is International City Theater is a delight to go to. You know, if people have watched our videos, we go to a lot of very small theaters, Fountain Theater and others that are very tight. We're happy to go there.
99 seat.
But International City Theater is not a big thing. It's not like the Mark Taper, but it's spacious and lovely done, easy parking, easy to get to. We most especially like going to plays there. So we recommend this play. I don't think it plays much longer, but you ought to run down and catch it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sticking around. If you like the LA Progressive content and the discussions we have here, please consider clicking the subscribe button below and also give us a thumbs up. That helps to grow our audience by feeding the algorithm, which helps to get this content in front of more eyes. Thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate your support.